In a recent interview, I asked Dr. Berkson, a hormone scholar and author of 21 books, what's the best way to get started to assess our hormones and the hormones of our patients? Every clinician will benefit from what she had to say. Here's our discussion. Dr. Berkson, we've been talking for the last few sessions about hormones and how important they are. And I know there's a lot of doctors that are out there that would think, I should probably get my hormones checked. I should learn more about this hormone thing. Or, geez, so many patients are coming in, they're tired, they're exhausted. My existing protocols aren't working. Do you have any suggestions on how they would get started?
So first of all, understand that hormones are in a very murky scenario because a lot of hormone experts that you might ask how to test and get started with hormones, they themselves might not know the way. But the first thing to do is to take a look at your sex hormone binding globulin in men and women, because if that's really elevated from stress and many other reasons that could be elevated, no matter your levels of estrogen and testosterone, they're not going to work well. So in both men and women, you want to run sex hormone binding globulin, follicle stimulating hormone. You want to run total and free testosterone. You want to run estrone, estradiol. You want to run progesterone. It's not going to show up in men, but we give progesterone to men too. Men and women have exactly the same hormones. And that is a good starting level for taking a look at hormones. You also want to look at thyroid and insulin because all the hormones are a family and they function and dysfunction together. So you want to run a free T3, a free T4, a reverse T3, a TSH, a thyroid binding globulin, and sometimes we just run a serum iodine just to begin, just to take a look at where their iodine is, because iodine makes all your hormones work better. And sometimes you need to give more iodine, but we don't use it to keep tracking because sometimes you need to give someone iodine at a level that'll look elevated in the blood when they really do need an elevated level. But that's a good start in the blood. I'm now a board member of the medical board of the Institute of Bioidentical Medicine, and we're trying to take a look at what testing methods have the most reproducibility to them. And it looks so far, we're in the preliminary stages, but blood actually is looking better than we ever thought. We're checking blood against 24-hour urine, which is the standard. We've also been looking at Dutch. We've been looking at saliva. Just preliminarily, the saliva and Dutch tests aren't looking like they have a lot of reproducibility, but that is still, we're not done with all of the testing. But I would start with blood because it's easier, it's less expensive, and you need blood to run your sex hormone binding globulin, your follicle stimulating hormone, your thyroid, and it's also good to get a fasting insulin. Because insulin is also a hormone. So if you get started, you take a look at your hormones, then you have to make sure that your hormones have available receptors and you can keep your hormone levels level. If you're not perimenopausal or you're not older yet, the products themselves and cleaning up your diet might start to get your own hormones better. You might need thyroid or you might need some adrenal support to really get and you also need to run DHEA, talking about adrenals, to get your hormones rebooted. But if you're older, in most men and women today are going to feel better if they're on either a product that boosts your own hormone production, like Biotics has B Vital, which boosts testosterone production in males. I don't know if there's ever been a study done on it boosting testosterone levels in females. Has there, Joe?
To my knowledge, there's been no study done, but I've done it with over a dozen women, and it's raised it every time.
Okay, so that's really great to know that there's a natural product that can boost it because, most gynecologists and most doctors think testosterone is to be avoided when actually testosterone helps you maintain muscle mass. And besides hormones, muscle mass helps keep you younger longer. And as muscles become smaller and less functional, that sarcopenia, which is the definition of that, drives also aging. And testosterone helps prevent sarcopenia. Testosterone also rules the brain. It rules memory in men, like estrogen rules memory in women. And testosterone also rules the immune system that lives in the gut. It helps the growth of secretory IgA that licks foreign particles that come in and informs your immune system if something is friend or foe. So a good start is blood with having to look at the binding proteins and all of the hormones as much as you can. If you're not yet old enough where you need hormone replacement, you want to clear up your receptors and keep your hormone levels more even keel. And then if you need to go on hormone replacement, you can first start boosting your own body's production of it. For example, B Vital, it is a booster of androgens, but sometimes you just need hormone replacement, and it's a perfect way for health practitioners to work together with medical practitioners, because most medical practitioners don't know about the value of hormones in longevity and the brain and the muscle and the immune system, like is growing. For some reason, it's not yet been taught in med school. So you can start with a simple blood test, and depending on the age of the patient, you can kind of go from there. Is that helpful?
That's very helpful, but I wanted to share one quick testimony because I was shared with a friend of mine who's a doctor, was sharing that he had a patient that he was working with blood sugar problems, and he couldn't get her blood sugar down even though he had her on the chromium and all the things that we normally do. So he put her on Receptor Detox, the product that you developed for cleaning receptor sites, and he said in a week it went from 220 to 100 to I think it was 120, but it dropped 100 points in a week just by cleaning off the receptor sites. Now it was a home unit, she was using a finger prick test herself, and it wasn't an official at a laboratory, but it just goes to show the power of when the receptor sites are clean, things work better. And that's one of the important things of not only for hormones, but for insulin and thyroid as well.
Right. Insulin's a hormone, thyroid's a hormone, and all of them have receptors. In fact, when on my podcast, Dr. Berkson's Best Health Radio, I interviewed Barbara Devenu, and she wrote Toxic Cocktail. She's a Sorbonne scientist from Paris who's made her entire career how the thyroid is the most vulnerable organ, only next to the brain, with endocrine disruption. Really? And that there is a huge amount of subclinical hypothyroidism occurring because receptors aren't working because of endocrine disruptors. And in fact, David Brownstein, who has many books out on hormones, says in his practice, he sees 70 to 80% of women have hypothyroidism. Many of them, it's subclinical hypothyroidism. It's kind of hidden. So if you go to a regular doc that just runs TSH, you're not going to find it. Medscape's been coming out with articles, the conservative online journal that goes to 6 million providers, saying, let's face it, our blood tests don't pick up hidden cases of when thyroid is sluggish and not working. And why are so many cases of thyroid sluggish and not working? Because of endocrine disruption, because the receptors are clogged. So this is a problem whose time has come. And these products, their time has come. And this awareness, if you want to be a doctor on the cutting edge, your time has come. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Hormones rule physiologic real estate, and I love to help share with you how you can keep your patients healthier longer by learning some ABCs of hormone health.
Well, we're going to have you come to Chicago because your time has come to Chicago where you can teach us in more depth. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Blessings. Bye-bye.
And her time has come, as Dr. Berkson has scheduled a 12-hour course to teach how to assess and how to treat hormone dysfunction. See the link to the right for details. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to being with you again next Tuesday.